If you've written very much CSS, you've likely run into a reset like Eric Meyer's CSS reset here, or a normalizer like normalize.css. There's all sorts of resets and normalization tools out there, and they're a little bit like preparing the canvas as a painter, trying to get our defaults to a good place where they're consistent across different browsers. Now, if you've ever looked at a website without styles, and we can do that by going to View, Page Styles, No Style, you can see that the browser provides this set of default styles for us. And we sometimes refer to these as browser defaults or user agent styles. User agent is a term that just refers to the browser. It's the technical term for the browser. So sometimes we'll call these user agent styles or UA styles, UA style sheets. If you hear those terms, what we're talking about is the browser defaults. Every browser provides this set of default styles that make the page readable. And if we look at the same page with those removed, what we're seeing is the specification defaults for each property. So display, inline, font weight, normal. So we can see here, it looks like just one long block of text. Not very readable, not very useful. Those defaults make sense in sort of an abstract, but once we get to specific HTML elements, the browser provides those styles that give us bullet points on lists and a little bit of padding there and borders around our search box and a button style and different sizes of heading, space between paragraphs. And some things are block and some things are inline. We get link styling, various types of link styling. These are really useful defaults, but they're a little bit different from browser to browser, and some of them come out of the fact that browsers can't really change their defaults very often. They have to support old websites as well as new websites, so mostly these browser defaults don't change over the course of time, and so sometimes we're using a reset or normalizer to update what the browser is giving us. But we don't generally remove all of the browser defaults. It's useful to have paragraphs and lists be display block and links be display inline and have underlines. So there's various of those that we're going to leave in place even though we build on top of them. So I want to show you how we can see the browser defaults and what impact they're having on our site. So I'm going to start by inspecting this navigation. We can see that I've got a list here. And I've set margin to 0, padding to 0, list style none, but I'm not seeing here any of the defaults that the browser would normally provide. And that's because they're turned off in the inspector by default. So what I'm going to do is go to this 3 dots, this drop-down menu, go to Settings, and if I scroll down to Inspector, I can see Show Browser Styles, and I'm going to turn that on and go back to my inspector. And now we can see my margin, my padding, my list style. And if we scroll down just a little bit, we see user agent html.css. And we can see that there's a counter reset there. List style type disk, I've overridden that. And there's a few more things that the user agent style sheets provide. The same is true if I select the body element here. I have it display grid and a margin of 0. And we can see here the user agent style that's overriding sets a display of block and a margin of 8 pixels. We can actually click one of these to filter and see just everywhere that display is being set on the body, so that's a quick way to find what we're looking for. We can also see browser styles in the computed panel. If we go here to computed, by default we see only the styles that I've applied directly to the body, but I can select this browser styles, turn that on, and now I'm seeing every single property that's applied to this element. That's every property in CSS that might be relevant here. And we can see that most of them are just the defaults, and if we scroll, we might find some that have this little triangle, and that triangle means that something has been set explicitly. And in this case, I set the border box to screen. We can filter this as well, so I'll filter that down to margins. And here, looking at the margin bottom, we can see that I've set it to 0 pixels, and the browser also set it to 8 pixels. We can see browser or user agent default styles both in the computed panel and in the rules panel. If we turn them on, they're not turned on by default. If you're like me and you want to go deeper, you want to see every single style that the browser is applying to your entire page, the quick way to get there is we can actually just click on this where it says html.css, either here or in the rules panel. If we click on that, it's going to open this file, which you can also go to directly. I'll post the link below. And this is the user agent style sheet itself. This is Firefox user agent style sheet. Starts with a lot of bidirectional styles. We get to the block section where we set all these block level elements to display block, including the body, which also gets that margin of 8 pixels, paragraphs, block quotes, figures, etc. And there's a lot going on in here. We can see use of selectors that aren't very familiar yet, but hopefully will be. Here's all the styles for tables, etc., etc. That's the link for getting to the user agent styles in Firefox itself, in whatever version of Firefox you're using. If you're not actually in Firefox, that source code is public, so you can go to this link and you'll see that same style sheet here on the Mozilla website. The same is true for other open source browsers. Chromium browsers have their user agent styles publicly online, and the same is true for WebKit. WebKit is the code behind Safari. I haven't been able to find public style sheets for Internet Explorer, but as they're moving over to Chromium, those will become available soon. But whether you're looking at these style sheets directly or turning them on in the inspector and being able to visualize how they fit in the cascade with your other styles, that's all very useful as we work. So hopefully that's helpful. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave comments below and have fun styling the web.